Hello everyone, this is Rick and welcome to Astral Club. This episode is going to talk about the Galactic Peace Conference. Before we get started real quick, if you'd like to join Astral Club on Patreon, you'll find a link in the description and you get your videos early on Sundays, and we can always talk back and forth easily through the Patreon text. If you'd like private astral projection lessons to learn how to astral project, or if you're an experienced projector and you just like to increase your number of projections and your control of them, traveling in time and space and dimensions, be more than glad to help you out. And there'll be an email in the description for more information. You've heard me talking about the Master now for over a year. Anyone who is new to the channel and doesn't know the history of the Master and myself, you should probably check out my history with the Master. I'll put a link in the description. It'll sum up for you the whole history, so you don't have to go through a whole series of videos before you're up on what's going on. So you can check that out. Real quickly, to say the extremely very least, my relationship with this entity who calls himself the Master, his other name is Gulam, which is one of his lifetimes he experienced on Earth. Yeah, we go back a ways, and he attacked me and corrupted my soul, which started our whole little relationship. Anyway, check out that video and you'll get the background. Now, recently, I visited Planet Haven, where I was checking up on my friend, the monk, and the healing that he is undergoing now with the Havenites. Secondly, and by the way, they say hi to everyone here in Astral Club. And they're quite happy to hear about this channel and the type of people that we deal with. They say that they're very plant-like, which is a big compliment coming from the Havenites, I assure you. At any rate, after I visited Haven and had some discussions with them about a number of things, I then went to the planet of the Greys, where I met with my friend Ken, who it turns out isn't just the administrator of a northern agricultural region, but he used to be one of the top commanders in the Grey forces. And I found that out from my angel. I didn't know. So I wanted to talk with my friend Ken. I had some concerns that I wanted to discuss with him. After my conversation with him, he decided to take me along with him to visit the council. I said, how are we going to get there? I can fly there quickly, but how are you going to get there? I don't have a lot of time here in my body, or outside of my body, rather. He said, don't worry. We found this, it kind of looked like a very impressive subway station opening. We went down this, I guess you could call it a high-tech elevator. It was circular and there was no sensation of movement, which I was to find out was kind of something that happens in a lot of their transport equipment. We went down very deep into the earth, deeper than when I visited the Moscow Metro back in the early 80s. The Moscow Metro, at its deepest point, is 74 meters deep, which is 243 feet. I remember riding down this long escalator to get to the actual metro itself. It was built also with the idea of perhaps being a bomb shelter or a nuclear bomb shelter, as well as a transport system, which is why it was buried so deeply. This particular system was buried much deeper than that. And I asked Ken about that, and he told me that a lot of their surface areas were sandstone. So that tells me a little bit of something about at some point in time this planet many eons ago must have had a lot of water in order to form a sandstone. But they had to go very deep to get to granite, solid rock that they could actually bore into. So their entire metro, subway, whatever you want to call it, system stretches through all the major cities, connecting them with one another. And I said, well, your headquarters is at the basically your equator. And we're up here at the North Pole. Now, I know your planet's not as big as Earth. It's closer to the size of Mars, in my estimation. But that's going to take a long time, isn't it? He said, not at all. We went into this silver capsule that looked like it was meant to handle no more than, say, 10 or so people. And it was very odd in that there were no windows. And I asked him about that. And he looked at me like, why would we need windows? I guess the whole aesthetic idea there didn't make any sense to him. And I guess at the same time, to be fair, all you'd see is a blur with a lot of rock. So perhaps, or maybe there's other reasons too. I don't know. Anyway, at some point, after a few seconds, I asked him when we were going to start moving because I didn't know how much longer I could stay out of my body. He said, we're already moving. We had started up and we're moving at high speed, but I had no sensation of, what it's like when you're on something like that. When you start up, there's that jar forward. And then when you stop, there's that jar backwards. We made the trip in a couple of minutes. And when we stopped, I said, are we done? He goes, yes, we're here. And this door slid open and we went out. And yeah, we were in the equatorial region in a couple of minutes. It was amazing. No sensation of movement at all. We then were very rapidly taken to the council. I couldn't believe how quickly we got in there, but I guess Ken has got a little bit of pull. And we both met with the council to have some discussions about this whole peace conference thing. So that's the background of what brought us to this whole peace conference situation. The appointed space-time point was chosen to be convenient for everyone. It took place on this planet that seemed to be 90% ocean with one green mass of island that was kind of in the middle of this blue planet. It was quite beautiful from space, very, very blue with some wispy white clouds. Anyway, this was to be where we would meet. The space forces in the third and the fourth dimensions were all gathered around this place in space-time. It was quite the armada. There was our forces and their forces. The galactic peace process is interesting because the custom is that the warring parties all bring their forces there as an assurance of their interest in peace, and then the parties have their peace discussions and spend however long they need to work out the details. I wasn't very sanguine on this whole process, and you may catch a very subtle sarcasm coming from me throughout this whole episode, because that's what I thought about this whole thing. But let's be fair. Let's get into it and discuss what happened. When I arrived on the planet, I saw my angel and we kind of nodded at each other. There were many thousands of beings of all descriptions there. There were certainly the Greys. I saw the Nordics. I saw the reptilians too, and I don't want to get anywhere closer to them than as I did. They are on the opposite side, by the way, which is not surprising. And so I just kind of took up my place on the periphery of the crowd. Because my angel kind of worked it out for me, I was up front, but I was just one person among many thousands of beings, and I was just there to kind of monitor what was going on. When the great master himself made his appearance, dressed in a white robe, with gold fringe, looking like some, I don't know, some weirdo that's walking the streets homeless at night and found himself a robe and thinks now he's Space Jesus. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little prejudiced against this particular individual, so you'll have to trust me as you as you wish, in that my views are slightly slanted against this individual who messed me up. He turned to find me, and we locked eyes and minds, and I got this signal from him that conveyed these words and this message, and immediately I felt like I needed a shower. You know, like somehow I became dirty just looking at him and receiving this communication. He said, Rick, how pleasant it is to see you again. I replied, well, that makes one of us. And then the master said, well, what kind of spirit of peace is that greeting? I said, I don't want peace with you. I want you gone permanently. And he said, gone? Where would you have me go? I know some lovely slimy algae on a volcanic rock that could really use a third-rate soul like yours. And for you, that should be a massive step up. I could feel the hate coming from him, but he said, very humorous, you would miss my company. I said, I don't think so. You see, you'd be gone, and I'd be happy. He gave me another grim smile, and then I guess the pleasantries were over with, when he asked me, how did you get the Greys to join your rebellion? And I could feel his mind burrowing into mine, trying to root out my thoughts on this and how I had managed to accomplish this particular achievement. I could tell from him that he had thought they'd remain neutral or come over on his side. And he was extremely shocked and surprised and not very happy about the fact that they came out on our side, because they were a major plus to our forces. And I started doing my nursery rhyme routine, where I repeat this nursery rhyme over and over again in my head to block his thoughts. Usually I use the Ring Around the Rosie nursery rhyme. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It sounds kind of cheery, little game for children to play, but it goes all back to the Black Plague. And I guess, the children in the Middle Ages were very cheery sorts. So I said, are my little gray buddies screwing up your war plans? I told them that after we finished kicking your ass, we'd all go to Disney World. He then looked at me, and this time with undisguised contempt, and then quite a bit of anger. And he said, perhaps you should take this war more seriously. And I said, I assure you, I do take this war very seriously. It's you that I don't take seriously. I could sense his rage building. His weakness is his overinflated ego. So I just loved those digs deflating that overgrown ego that he calls a personality. At any rate, he responded, "Well, we'll talk later. I have to talk to more important beings now." Okay, whatever. I got my digs in. After that, the peace conference began, and after the initial openings and discussions and the importance of peace and galactic well-being, the master stood up and started speaking. And he said that this war had been long and destructive, and that it had run across the galaxy and in all times and spaces. And he was looking to establish peace with the rebels. That's us, by the way. And he was willing to make concessions and to work with us as much as possible. But then things went on a little bit of a twist. But then he said, "Unfortunately, I just don't see you extremists being reasonable and understanding the true depth of my plan to help advance the intelligent and self-aware beings of the galaxy. And I cannot allow this galaxy to continue to stagnate and become degraded because of your lack of imagination. So I have made moves to ensure that this war ends, and ends for the greater good of the galaxy." You could sense the tension in the room. There was a lot of folks who were not expecting this. I was an exception. I knew this was going to go south. Didn't know it was going to go south that quickly. But you could hear a virtual pin drop at that point. He then went on and said, "As we speak, my loyal forces are attacking the gray planet, and they will finally bring peace to our galaxy." Well, this caused quite an uproar because everyone knew that all of the forces had been summoned to this peace conference, both ours and theirs. And so the initial surprise involved, well, how is this possible? And of course, what happened, and I was not surprised by this, that the master did not bring all of his forces to this peace conference. Instead, he had sent a substantial force to destroy the Greys, who were a key ally of ours. When things started getting a little crazy, I sent a very piercing call that was very broad-based, and I can't believe I had this energy. I think my angel was helping me. And I said, "Excuse me, but I think it's your forces, Master, that are going to be surprised." He looked at me with daggers, and we locked minds. But I wanted to make sure I continued to broadcast to everyone. I said, "I had discussions with our allies, the Greys, and their council, and advised them, despite how things are done in these little peace conferences here, I advised them to keep a substantial amount of their forces in their solar system in reserve. So I'm sure right now your forces are getting destroyed, and our ally, the Greys, are wiping up the planet with you." At that, he turned on me, and I could sense his building rage. And the last time I felt this was right before he blasted me and corrupted my soul. So I thought one clear word: danger. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up on Haven. I had arranged with my friends, the Havenites, that if I needed help, I would send that one word, danger, to them, and they would be able to rescue me and bring me to Haven instantly. So I don't know what happened after that, because shortly after I appeared on Haven, I returned to my body. And I don't know what occurred after that process. But I can tell you this, the Master's forces got a very nasty surprise. And we'll see. At any rate, the facade of this peace conference now, I'm quite sure, is dispelled, so we won't have any more nonsense associated with this. That was what occurred, and if you find it interesting, please hit the like button, share it with those of like mind, subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, hit that bell. That way you'll be notified when I put my new episodes up every week. There is a Wednesday at 2 p.m. and a Saturday at 8:15 a.m. episodes every week. And of course, that is Eastern time in the United States. It's the same time as New York City. Well, it should be interesting to see what happens now. At any rate, thanks for spending the time with me. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.